Are you ready for it? Do you feel it? Do you want it? Tell you what, my God, look at this. I'm sitting under a palm tree. Some beautiful water, some sand behind me. I know you're probably saying, F you, Lawrence. But I'll tell you what, I made this conscious decision that I was sick and tired of over a decade in the gloomy, gray, cold to cool, overcast climes of wonderful London. And I decided it was time to make a change. And I'd been talking about it for years. My wife and I would talk about, you know what, let's move somewhere beautiful, somewhere invigorating, somewhere lively, somewhere with the sun, somewhere with the sand, something that will keep you charged mentally, physically, and spiritually. And we often talked about this as a wish or a desire or a dream. And we got serious about it a couple of times, and it just never seemed to pan out. And it got to a point where I thought, we're never going to make that happen. We're never going to move to that beautiful place that we envision here in our mind's eye. Until one day, I said to my wife, I decided, you know, we're just never going to do this unless we set a date. And we make a deadline that by this date, we have to pick our spot where we're going to move, and we have to come up with all the reasons why it has to be done by then or else. Why does it have to be done by that? Why do we have to make this happen by this cutoff point? And we set a date, and we went over all of the reasons why it must happen by then. And like some miracle, by some magic or force of nature, I am right now sitting under a palm tree with sand, water behind me. Just rode the bicycle to get here. Did about an hour and 15 minutes worth of hardcore endurance and feel great. But let's talk about what that entails, because your week is beginning now. And you have to start thinking about, what do you want? What is it that you want out of today? What do you want out of this week? What do you want for the year, for the rest of your life? What do you want? You know what I always found my biggest challenge was figuring out what I wanted. Existentially or big picture wise, I always knew I wanted greatness, or I wanted a lot of money, or I wanted power, or I wanted glory, I wanted victory, I wanted all these intangible things. But the magic of making things tangible is so powerful that if there's anything that you're going to do to crystallize your life, it's to get tangible with it. And I was, so figuring out what it is you desire, what it is you want, and getting specific about it is miraculous. Yes, indeed. But then this whole thing about discipline comes into play. Because to get things that you want, you have to be dedicated or committed to it. How committed are you? How dedicated are you? How fired up are you? How invested in the cause are you? How much skin in the game have you given to what it is you're going after? I wake up at 4 in the morning every day, except for the weekends. Give myself a break. Maybe I wake up at 6 in the morning on the weekends. But during the week, I'm up at 4 in the morning because I got a lot to do, a lot to accomplish, a lot of things I desire. And I want as much time in the day to make that happen. Is that painful? Is it hard to wake up that early? Is it hard to stay that committed? And to fulfill every minute of that day with something valuable, because I'm working every minute of that day on something, except when I'm eating. spending just a little bit of quality time with my family. I almost never have enough time to get everything done. Even waking up at 4 in the morning. Don't go to bed don't fall asleep probably till around 10:30. 10 o'clock, an average of 5.5 hours, 5 to 5.5 hours night of sleep. But is that difficult? No, I don't find it difficult at all. I wake up every day charged. You'll see that I talk a lot about mind fuel. A lot of the posts I do, a lot of the videos that you'll continue to see me do, incorporate the concept of, at least in the title, mind fuel. Mind fuel for the mover, for the shaker, for the go-getter, for the hungry, for the spirited. Mind fuel for the sales athlete. Because salespeople aren't just your average business person. They're the athletes of the business world. They're the competitors of the business world. So how do we have to treat ourselves in a special way, similar to the way competitive athletes treat themselves. And that's why I talk about mind fuel, because the mind is where everything begins. Now there's also body and spirit. All three connect, and all things can change and elevate the other. But it begins with mind fuel. So how do you fuel your mind? And then how do you fuel your body? How do you fuel your spirit to ensure that your mind is operating at peak performance? So these are, and by the way, I've got a really interesting article coming up I'm going to put on LinkedIn about how to make sure the mind is crystal, sharp, inspired, intense. What kind of fuel to give it specifically? I'm going to get very specific, get really scientific on you, to help you ensure that every day your mind is clear, your mind is fired up, your mind is extremely focused, and you have boundless energy mentally. So I've got some really strong strategies and tactics for that. A lot of it comes into play with nutrition. I've talked about also other techniques. I will talk about other techniques. Again, mind, body, spirit. But I've got an article coming up specifically on nutrition, and that's going to play a big part in it. But getting back to making things tangible and the commitment to follow through and make the tangible reality. Because even when I set that date to move to this beautiful place, there were so many things that I had to do and sacrifice and give up to get here. Because all the excuses that kept me from doing it, all the other times I dreamed or wished about it, were still there. It's just at this time, I really put pen to paper. We made the deadline, we made it tangible, and then we started making the sacrifices. But then again, this idea of discipline comes into play. Now, there's this great strength coach by the name of Charles Poliquin who talks about the myth of discipline. He talks about how discipline is an outdated concept. The reality is that nothing rewarding takes discipline. We only do what we love. If you love eating pizza more than you love having washboard abs, then you're going to eat pizza. And you could be great at it, by the way. You could be a champion pizza eater. I love pizza so much. I'm gonna eat it 3 times. I know a guy. Yeah, bet this one's for you. Who loves eating pizza? Man eats pizza 3 times a day. But listen, you could be a great pizza eater. And that's fantastic. If that's your desire, it takes no discipline to eat pizza, does it, right? You do what you love. I love waking up at 4 in the morning because I love all the things I get to accomplish by waking up earlier than everyone else. While everyone else is sleeping, I'm striving. And I love that. I love that feeling. I can't wait for the next day to come. Now again, I do a lot of things to prime my mind in order to have that invigoration. And again, I'm going to share all this with you in posts, in articles, and in videos that I'll be doing. But back to the discipline piece, Poliquin says, no discipline. You only do what you love. So if you love it, if you're passionate about it, if it interests you or excites you enough, you're going to do it. Now the question for all of us is, if it doesn't excite us or interests us enough to be quote-unquote disciplined, then do we really want it? Or is it just a fantasy? Do we really, really, really desire it? Or is it just some wish, just like you want to win the lottery? Perhaps that's what it is. You have to think about what you really want. And you have to think about what you really love doing. And if you hate what you're doing, and if you despise the outcomes of what it is you're doing, well, then the answer is plain as day, isn't it? You're wasting your time, your effort, and your energy because you're doing the wrong things. So just change. Do something else. Find something you're interested in. Find something you're passionate about. You know, I was caught up in a routine for over a decade in a city where, don't get me wrong, I spent 12 years in London and I loved it there, but it came a point where I wanted paradise. And I was too entrenched in a routine. Did I want to be in London after a certain period of time? No. Did I stay in London? Yes. In my life, have I done many things in routine that have gotten me outcomes that I wasn't interested in at the end of the day? Yes. Why did I do it? I got caught up in a routine. Break the cycle. Break the paradigm. Shift. You could do it literally on a dime. I decided one day and I made it so. And I've done that many other times in my life with many other things, but sometimes you forget. So it's time for me to remind you. Break the ceiling, break through the wall, make the shift, change your paradigm, change your life. All of this, the beach, the water, the palm trees, it can be yours, or whatever that represents for you, whether it's success, wealth, work, hobbies, passions, dedications, interests, achievements, accomplishments, where you want to go, who you want to be with, what it is you want to do with your life. You can do anything. You just need to, today, break the paradigm, make the shift, make it tangible, give yourself a deadline, and start writing down and start mentally categorizing the things you have to do and sacrifice to make it a reality. And then that's it. You're in love with where you're going. You're going to be in love with what you're doing to get there. There it is, guys. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. You enjoy your week. Tear it up.